Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today I'm going to show you how you can connect up an Xbox adaptive controller to the PlayStation 4. I'm using a PlayStation 4 Slim. It will also work with the original PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro as well. Now this controller here was designed by Microsoft for gamers with limited mobility. For example, if you struggle using your thumbs, your hands or your arms, then you might find using a standard Xbox controller quite hard to use. In which case then you can adapt this to your needs. So we already have big buttons up the top here. We've got a place where we can plug in a separate joystick which will mimic the right analog stick, and a separate joystick or flight stick in here which will mimic the left analog stick, and it works as analog. For example, if we were to plug this one in, if we move it a small bit, the character is going to move a small bit. If we move it a lot, it's going to move a lot. And now if we have a look around the back, we have a load of ports which mimic each button on the controller. So for example, if you had trouble hitting the right trigger, the RT, then what we can do is we can get a switch. This is just a homemade switch, but obviously you can buy the proper ones, and you can plug it in to here. It takes a 3.5mm jack and plug it into here. Now every time we press this, it's going to then work as the right trigger. So for example, we could have this under our chin, it could be under our forearm, elbow, under our foot. It doesn't need to be on here. We can put this to wherever we need it to be, and that's the whole point of this. You can adapt this to wherever you want it to be. If you want it on the left bumper, plug it into this one here that says LB, and then it will mimic the left bumper. So you can see now different people will have different needs for it, and that's the whole point. It's adaptive. Now I think this is a fantastic bit of kit, but unfortunately it only works on the Xbox. In the future, hopefully it will work on other systems as well, but at this moment in time it doesn't. So to get this to work on the PlayStation 4, it doesn't work natively. We have to use an adapter, and the adapter that I find works best is this Brook game controller here. So have a look, super converter, and the one we need is the Xbox to PlayStation 4 controller, which is this one here, which is this pink color. And what this will do is it will trick the PlayStation into thinking that this is one of these. The other good thing about it is it doesn't appear to be a timeout every 8 minutes, because often when you use, for example, this on here via different adapters, it will time out every 8 minutes and then you need to reconnect, which is a bit of a pain. But I've been using this over the last day now, and actually it works very well. Now to buy one of these is going to set you back between 30 and 40 UK pounds, and this is going to set you back 75 pounds. So it's not cheap, but what I have done is I've made up my own switches very cheap. So there is ways of saving money. Obviously if money's not an object, you can buy all the proper switches and they're going to work perfectly. But if money is an object, there is cheap ways around it, and I'll show you that later in the video. But basically I bought a load of these for £4, and then I've just connected up a load of cables to them, and now this will work. Every time I press one of these buttons, I can plug these the other ends into the ports in the back, and then basically it will mimic the different buttons on the controller. But what I'll do is I'll set it up to begin with, and then I'm going to show you 3 games at the end just to give you an idea of different setups, and then yeah, you can make up your own mind whether this would be useful to you or not. So to begin with, it's really straightforward. All we have to do is plug this into here. Now with this one you are going to have to download the latest firmware. If you go onto the Brook, if you just Google Brook Super Converter, you will find their website, and then you need to find this particular product. So you would click on PlayStation 4 and then you would go down the list until you find this one, and then download the latest firmware. As of when I'm making this video, the firmware isn't actually on their website just now. They watched a video where I connected this up to the Nintendo Switch and they basically gave me the latest firmware. So hopefully by the time you watch this video or in a few weeks it will be on their website, but it's not there yet. So don't panic. If you already have one of these and already have one of these and you upload the latest firmware and it's not working, just give it a few weeks and then hopefully it will be out there then. So all we have to do is plug it into here and you will see it's going to light up blue. Yeah, okay. So right now this controller is not connected, but you can use this controller as a separate controller to here. I haven't actually worked out a way yet where you can use this and this at the same time, because that will be perfect. For example, if you just had maybe a left arm, then you might be able to use this side of the joystick okay, but you might want to use this with your feet, in which case I haven't actually worked out a way for that to work. So basically you're kind of having to use this completely by itself, or when you use it in the form of the Xbox, you can turn on Copilot and you can use this along with this at the same time. Now that's that bit there. So what we need to do is we need to get our cable that came with this, which is basically a USB to USB-C. So we're going to plug the USB into here, like so, and then we're going to, let's get rid of this controller now, and now we're going to plug this into the port in the back. So if you have a look at back here, we've got the little USB port, USB-C, plug it in, and now look, in a few seconds, we have the light. And that is it, that is now connected. So now, if we hit this, you will see it's gone up there, hits A, and A is the same as X. Now obviously it's a little bit confusing because the buttons are all labelled up differently than the PlayStation controller, but if you just use your common sense, you will see that they're all in the same place. For example, A is the same as X, square is the same as X here, Y is the same as triangle, etc. Obviously we don't have the touchpad on here, but all the other buttons, so this will mimic this one, and then everything else is in the same place. So left trigger will be L2, right trigger will be R2, right bumper R1. You get the idea. Anyway, if you look at it here, you will now see that it is actually working. So if we use the D-pad there, you can see. Now as far as lag's concerned, I don't notice any. So if you have a look here now, you can see that, for example, when I hit the right D-pad, if you listen for the click and then see the movement, and left, it feels pretty good. But I'm not a competitive gamer, so other people might notice a lag, but personally I don't. Now, we don't actually have to have a PlayStation controller connected up when we're using this, but let's say if you want to play 2-player, again, it's not a problem. We can turn on this, and basically this one will become player 2. You can see now it's gone to red, and it's asking, who do I want to be up here? So let's just sign in as a new user. So now you see red, and this one is blue. Now, if I wanted to start using this one to control the menu, it says hit the PlayStation button, so tap here, and you can see now that this one has control. Now let's say if we want to go back to this person here, what we can do is just start moving it, and again it's going to ask to hit the PlayStation button, so tap here. So you can see it's just working as a normal controller. So now with this one here, there's different ways of remapping our buttons, because for example we have A here and B here, but we might not want these to be A and B. There's actually 3 different ways to do it. We can connect this up to an Xbox or a PC using the Xbox Accessories app, and then we can set ourselves up different profiles on here. We can have 3 different profiles, which is really useful. Then every time we go onto here, we can just put it to profile 2, and for example this might work as the right trigger and this might be left trigger. Or we can do it via the actual PlayStation software itself, and as well as that we can actually do it via the Brook Super Converter. So there's lots of different options. If you have a look here, if I just show you the instructions, it says procedure for customizing buttons, and you can see it says here if we were to press the how's it start? Press and hold the view and the A button. So to begin with, we need to press the Xbox button and also the menu button. So watch this now, it's blue here, but when I hit these 2 together, can you see now it's gone to red? And now we can program the buttons to how we want them to be. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Obviously when you get the adapter, you can read the instructions yourself and find out how to do it. Or an easy way is to go into the actual PlayStation settings themselves. So let's go to up here and let's go across to system or settings, and then we're going to go to accessibility, and then we're going to go down to button assignments. And you see here, normally this is unchecked like that, but when you check it, it brings up this one here, and you can see already that I've swapped this over for one of my games that I'm going to be showing you in a minute, which is Nidhogg. But you go to customize buttons, and what I did is I changed the circle to the square. So for example, now if I was to change that back, I would go here. So it's going to be like this when you first of all go on it, and if I want circle to act as square, I'm going to press A over that one, and then I'm going to move it down to square. Press A again, and that is it. You can see circle's gone to square and square's gone to circle. Obviously you can change loads of different ones on here, not everything, but most of the ones that you're going to need. And then we're going to go down, and then now I'm just going to cancel it because remember I've already done it, but normally you will confirm it. Let's go back to here. This is acting as our PlayStation button up here. Right now, when it comes to the actual switches themselves, obviously you can buy the good ones, but I've made my own. So with this one here, I've made this using Amazon Echo button because I got them cheap, and normally they work via Bluetooth, but I physically soldered a cable onto it. And this one here, I'm quite proud of this one. This one here was a bunch of controllers for an old PlayStation 2 game called Buzz, and basically I got them from CEX in the UK for £4, and they came with a bunch of 4 controllers here. And these are basically working out as £1 each, and then you just have to get the cables and solder it on. So obviously it takes time, but it's a cheap way of doing it. And as you can see now, I've labelled them up all as such, and this one at the top. And then every time I press these, they're going to mimic different buttons. So you might find it easier to hold these rather than holding the controller. Again, just an idea, but different people will have different setups that they like. And then what I've done is I've labelled everything up on this side. So for example, this is the square button, circle, etc, etc, and then I'm going to plug these into the back into, for example, the A, B, X and Y, or any buttons that I need. So in a way you can do your own remapping. So again, if you don't like hitting the right trigger on the controller, you can use this setup here and use this for the right trigger by just plugging in the one here into the one that says right trigger. So you get the idea. Now when it comes to actually making up the cables, it is relatively straightforward. All you need to do is get a 3.5mm audio jack, and then you need to use the specific wire. So on this particular cable, this is a stereo one, but you don't need a stereo one. A mono one will work absolutely fine. It's just that in a lot of cases the stereo ones are cheaper because they're in much more demand, so they're mass produced. But on this one here, what you need to do is you need to connect up the tip here with this ground one here. So all you're doing is shorting this wire and this wire together. So on this one, I'm going to be shorting together the braid, which is the ground, and the red one, which is the tip, and I don't need to use the white one at all. So again, if you have a look on screen there, an easy way to test it is just to plug it into the one that is the right D-pad, which is this one here. So if I plug it into this port here, and then you will see now, every time I touch these two together, it will move. So watch this. See? And again, completely responsive. If you want to plug it into something else, let's plug it into the left D-pad. And again, it's going to work its way back now every time I press it. Yeah, and when you hold it down, it will go all the way to the back. Right, okay, so that's how you make it. So although these are quite expensive, you can actually make up your own leads quite cheaply. So this one's going to be very simple on a very simple game. We're going to go over to Nidhogg, and basically with this one we're just going to be pretending now we've just got the use of one hand and also our feet. So if you have a look down here, I've got the 2 buttons on the floor down there, and then the one on the left is going to be mimicking the X, and the one on the Y is going to be mimicking the square. So now if I hit that one there, you can see we've gone into it. Let me lower it down a bit. Right, so the objective of this game is basically for me to get to the very right hand side of the screen. Now, apologies, because A, I'm not the best at gaming, and secondly, I haven't had enough experience working these controllers. You can see I'm using both feet to get through. Final screen, I'm doing well here. Oh yes, go on, excellent, fantastic. Alright, so that couldn't have gone any better. So there you go, you can see that even if you just had one hand and the use of your feet, you would be able to play that game okay. Let's move on to another one. For this one, we've turned off the button assignments on here, so we're just using everything as default. And if you have a look here now, I've plugged in my homemade Buzz controller into all these ones here, and also here, and then the button here into the right trigger. So what's going to be happening is we're going to be purely using these ones here. So I'm using this to be analog left and right. The game we're going to be playing is Mantis Burn Racing. This is going to be brake and reverse. This is going to be accelerate, so I'm going to use it with my forearm on here, and this is going to be boost. Right, okay, so we're ready to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the controls and then zoom right in on the TV to show you a bit of gameplay, because the cars are so small you can't really see. But if I go to start there, you will see that this big Buzz button up here is actually reverse. There you go. But remember, you set it up how you like it. So that's reverse. And then if I hit this one with my forearm, you can see it's going forward. And then this is an analog stick, meaning that small movements will do small movements. So look slightly to the right, and then a lot to the left, and a lot to the right. Yeah, Right, okay, let me just do it until I get boost. So let me just zoom in so you can actually see it working. So you can accelerate and brake around the corner as well. Right, so it looks like I've got a boost now, so there you go. Right, let's show you a game where you can see it easier than this one. Let's go over the edge. Right, let's go to Rocket League. So now we have Rocket League, and I've set it up just on free play just so I can show you it working. So this button down here is going to be accelerate, and I'm going to be playing it with my forearm. And this one here is going to be brake and also reverse. We've got this one here which is going to be boost. Let me just turn it around so you can see. So that's going to be boost. And we've got jump here. And we've also got drifting around the corners. So for example, if I like a handbrake turn. And this one here is going to be ball cam. Now, I'm using an Atari joystick here, which isn't analog, so it's going to be full left or full right when I turn it. But the reason I wanted to do it is because I wanted to show you the analog on this. So this is working as the camera, and if you have a look, you see, when I do a small bit, it moves a small bit, a little bit more. So you see it's just going in tiny increments. So it's not just fully on and fully off. I just thought it'd be a good way of showing you the analog working. Right, okay, let me try and get a goal. Now, I'm really bad at this game. I like it, I'm just really bad at it. So let me just try and get a goal. I don't care which side it's in. Oh, it went in anyway. Right, okay, we'll call it a day there. You get the idea. So there we have it. That is the Xbox Adaptive Controller working on the PlayStation 4. And as you can see, it does actually work pretty well. And I think if you got used to playing certain games, I reckon you could become a bit of a master at it, even if you didn't have full use of all your limbs. So hopefully now this will open up the PlayStation to more people out there. So if you enjoyed this video, I appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe for more how-to videos. Take care, bye now.